Hello everyone, so I wanted to go through some of the basics, some of the basic breakdowns of the sword and hammer, what the motions mean, and an understanding behind them. Because it's one thing just to copy a form and go through it, but it's just as important to understand some of the breakdown and usage from the kata in which you're demonstrating, in which you're showing to people. So now it's just as important to teach a student the motion, but give them a basic understanding of what those motions mean. And I'm just talking about this briefly today because this goes into much more detail of the element of surprise, the walking and attacking, the retreat, so forth, the takedowns, the chokes, and so forth. But anyways, when we go through the sword and hammer, we notice that we bow. And that position there is when we bow, we're stepping to the side in case maybe somebody's coming down with a jo or a katana or bokken, whatever. We're just getting out of the way with the bow. That's one lesson it could be teaching us. After we bow and we open up, that's a horse that we're getting into, and that could be a sliding horse, that could be a sliding horse coming into the front of the man's leg, or coming in behind of the back man, behind the person's leg for the throws of the opening of the sword and hammer. When we come up and we're doing this position here, we're raising our leg. And the reason why we're raising our leg is not only for the kick, but the kick and the step down. Whether you're kicking and stepping down on a short pattern, or a medium, or a long extension with your footwork when you're stepping down. Because the left hand is coming into play not only as a block, but as a block strike, or a slap, or a palm, or a grab. The left hand. The right hand is being shown as a hammer, to where you're working with two different type of symmetries here, two different type of techniques, to where one is working with the other on a circular pattern, on a linear pattern, and so forth and so forth. But today we're just going to work on a basic. So when we come up and we're doing this position here, the first motion is a block and a hit, a vertical strike. So the first motion is 1, 2, right? We're coming in. That's what we learn out of the sword and hammer, to where we come down. You have a block and a strike, block and a strike, block and a strike, block, strike. That's the basic position and the basic hands from this motion here. Not to mention the circular pattern, which is a strike, a hammer strike to the side of the temple, which could be a strike this way, a strike this way, a strike this way, a vertical straight punch, a backhand, all the different motions that can be done from this particular motion here upon the entry of stepping down. So we're making a circular pattern as we're coming up. That particular motion can be done the other way. And what it's basically working on is the patch. That's why the patch is the hand, and that hand can be seen in the falling leaf too. But in the sword and hammer, when you hit, it's showing the fan, it's showing the hand, right? Which is also shown within the iron bow when you're coming down using that hand. But in the sword and hammer, it's being shown here to where you're doing a block and then a counter, to where you're blocking and then you counter to the throat, or maybe this coming in underneath, or maybe striking to the crotch and then coming to the throat. Not to get off on a tangent, but so when we're coming up in here and we're crossing, it's showing the different type of blocks that can be done with the different type of punching. And that punching can be done to where you're going short with an elbow, right? The iron cross. It can be done from it here to where you're punching short with a vertical punch, medium, and then long within the form from this particular motion here. And there's much, much more to that, but today I just wanted to briefly touch upon some of the basics out of the sword and hammer, and I'll continue onward with the open twin sword, with the open hammer hands, and some of its usage. Thanks for tuning in.